Penguin Random House Audio presents Robert B. Parker's Bad Influence by Alison Gaylin, read for you by Kate Burton. Chapter 1. Were we ever like that? I said. Please tell me we weren't. We weren't, Spike said. Believe me. I was with my best friend in the bar of the restaurant he owns, both of us transfixed by a couple 20-something influencers, sitting at a dimly lit table and taking selfie after selfie, a bottle of pricey cognac looming behind them like a chaperone. I'd been told their names were Blake James and Elena Jade. Apparently, last names had gone the way of MySpace. I'd also been told that they were Instagram's it couple, and having them here, in Spike's, would be sure to transform it from just some place into a destination. It made sense. Between them, Blake James and Elena Jade had close to 1 million followers, and getting them both here in Spike's together could ensure a house full of big-spending fans, each one of them desperate to stand in the spot where their inked-up, Fashion Nova-wearing, iron-pumping, duck-face-making idols had stood. Blake James in particular. In addition to his wildly popular Instagram account, Blake was a YouTube sensation, with legions of viewers tuning in to his workout video channel, The Shred Shed. As irritating as it may have been to Spike and me, I hoped the presence of these two sentient mannequins would give Spike's a much-needed prestige infusion. Despite a post-pandemic uptick in business, inflation and supply chain issues had taken their toll on the place, just as they had on most restaurants. And my friend, for all his hard work, was back in the red. I was worried Spike might do something stupid to keep his tavern afloat. Again. Which is why I listened to a woman named Bethany Rose who called herself a media concierge and assured me she could marshal the power of the gram to ensure that Spike would never feel the need to swim with another loan shark. But more on that later. All you need to know at this point is that Bethany Rose brought us Blake and Elena. Blake rested his chiseled chin on Elena's bare shoulder, a selfie stick holding the phone high over their heads, the two of them pouting up at it contentedly. Spike stared at them. How can anybody spend that much time looking at themselves? Maybe they're looking at each other. I took a swallow of my Pinot Noir, a nice year recommended by Spike, and probably 1/20th the price of the influencer's cognac. I did have to admire Elena. Looking the way she did took more effort than I could ever imagine mustering, and I'm not exactly low maintenance. I once had a drag queen client, and I doubted he spent as much time with the contouring brush as Elena did. Her face was so sculpted, she seemed almost unreal, and her shimmering hair was perfectly behaved, like a swath of black silk. She had to have spent tens of thousands on plastic surgery to get that body, which was really something you'd see only in comic books or the Kardashian family. Blake, meanwhile. Okay, if I was going to be honest, I didn't mind looking at him. I'd love to paint that man, I said. I hadn't intended to say it out loud, but sue me. He had the most symmetrical face I'd ever seen. Meh, Spike said. I stared at him. Are you serious? He shrugged. He's not my type. I've punched too many guys who look like him. Blake raised his glass for another selfie and smiled, his Caribbean blue eyes an exact match with the sleeveless jacket he was wearing, his teeth gleaming nearly as much as his exposed, tatted biceps. And then Blake shouted, "Let's do a cheers!" like a 5-year-old. A couple of Spike's regular patrons shot him death glares. The bartender visibly cringed. Even Elena looked embarrassed. I turned back to Spike. I get what you're saying. He sighed. Is this really necessary? He said. I mean, the last time this place was in trouble, I handled it. I raised an eyebrow at him. Okay, I guess I shouldn't have taken out a loan without reading the fine print? Uh-huh. Gotten involved with the Russian mob? Yup. All of the above, plus breaking a loan shark's nose and nearly getting both of us killed? Yeah, except for the nose-breaking part. I stand by that decision. I grinned, clinked my glass with his. Let's do a cheers to that, I said. To Spike's, he said. To Spike's. He swallowed his wine, then glanced at his watch. So, The customers should be rushing in any minute now, huh? Spike was watching the door. I was too, but not for the same reasons. Unlike my best friend, there was only one customer I needed to see walk into this place tonight, and that was media concierge Bethany Rose. She was late. Chapter 2. It wasn't long before new customers began streaming into Spike's. Dozens of them, all under 30, the girls in rompers and sky-high heels, the boys in skin-tight t-shirts and stinking of Axe spray, all of them spray-tanned within an inch of their lives. It wasn't the typical crowd you'd see in Spike's, or in Boston for that matter. It was more like Hollywood meets Jersey Shore. But Spike didn't seem to mind. When the fourth or fifth group started at tab, I saw him smile for the first time in I couldn't remember how long. "This media maven, what's her name?" Spike said. "Bethany Rose, and it's media concierge." "Whatever," he said. "Color me pleasantly surprised." I had to agree. Even if this wasn't my ideal bar clientele, money was money. I glanced at the door again. "She should be here." "Who?" "Bethany." "Why?" I sighed heavily. "We're supposed to talk terms." I'd spoken to Bethany Rose the previous day at the suggestion of Lee Farrell. It felt weird to hear a no-nonsense cop like Lee use a term like media concierge, but as he said himself when I told him Spike might lose his bar again, bullshit times call for bullshit measures. Lee had known about Bethany from his niece, Emily Barnes, a pretty college student with a habit of getting herself into unpretty situations. These days, Emily was earning extra cash and free swag as an influencer, a noble pursuit, comparatively speaking. With Bethany's help, she'd become what they call a micro-influencer, with close to 50,000 followers. Lee had no idea what that meant, but he was still proud. And who could blame him? It was legal. Anyway, Emily had done one of those email intros between Bethany Rose and me, and yesterday, Bethany had given me a free consultation via Zoom. She basically looked the way I'd expected her to. Kris Jenner haircut, a rope of expensive-looking pearls, cheekbones that angled out from her face dramatically, and plumped-up lips that were no stranger to the needle. Looking at her, Bethany Rose could have been anywhere from 35 to 65. It was impossible to tell, especially since she went so heavy on Zoom's touch-up-your-appearance feature. She wore a tailored black jacket that probably cost more than my kitchen renovation, which made me wonder if I was wasting my time. The economy was tough for PIs too. Monthly expenses for my home and office had skyrocketed, and solvent as I may have been, it was hard to justify dropping a small fortune on something as ephemeral as potential word of mouth. I decided to keep the consultation short and sweet. My first question for Bethany: what the hell is a media concierge? If you have to ask Sonny, you can't afford me. I hadn't even cracked a smile. I can put your friend's business on the map, she had said. How? I have a 5-point plan. What are the points? She'd gone on about reach, demographics, and algorithms for at least 6 solid minutes, sprinkling her pitch with info about her stable of influencers and a lot of social media lingo. The gram, she'd said repeatedly, her blue eyes lighting up each time she said it, as though it were some kind of wonder drug. Look, Bethany, I'd said, once I could get a word in, you seem great, and your pitch is, I struggled for the right descriptor, well, it's the bomb. Thanks. But Spike and I don't have much in the way of extra cash these days. I'm thinking you're probably out of our league. Don't be so sure, she had said. Emily told me about your private investigating business. Meaning? Meaning I have a problem that requires your services. You want to barter? Yes. I blinked at the screen, at her flawless image. Details, please? Bethany told me she'd send her 2 most popular influencers to Spike's the following night, pro bono. I didn't bother to tell her she wasn't using the term properly. A few minutes of these 2, the business they bring in, you'll see what I'm capable of doing for your friend. I'm listening. I'll come by the place myself at 10 p.m. That'll give Blake and Elena enough time to get the word out. You like what you see? I'll give you all the details you need. I looked around now at the hectic bar. A group of bearded wannabe hipsters was taking selfies with Elena, while Blake and 2 barely-of-age girls were doing another cheers. The bartender was taking orders faster than he could fill them, and Spike was across the bar talking to...
Sample complete. Ready to continue?